Hi. Okay. Good morning. Looks like I'm going to be on my own this morning, which is fine because I have a topic. I have a plan. So, excuse me, my seat. Adjust my seat slightly. Yeah, if you saw my Facebook Live post this morning, I was explaining that I wanted to have a bit more of a direction to these things, so that it wasn't just a nice catch up with my lovely friends and colleagues. I've doing this, I've managed to meet so many amazing people who are doing the thing that they wanted to do for forever, and they've finally taken the courage to actually do that. So many interesting people, passionate people. And that brings me to the topic that I wanted to talk about. Sorry, I do have my tea here. So yeah, I wanted to take these sessions in a direction that maybe you guys could take something away from it, because I've been learning so much over these past 2 years, doing the being business stuff, getting my EMyth business coaching certification, and EMyth is very much it's an amazing program based on one of the best-selling books in business that you can come across. Many businesses call it the Business Bible. But the EMyth program is potentially designed for the more established business, the business that has been going for perhaps over 3 or 4 years, has got a few employees, and there's a certain turnover. That has an additional set of problems to what the smaller business does. So what I wanted to do, because the ideas and the perspective behind the EMyth book, if you get the chance to read the book, there's links to on the website, Being Business website, and my new website, jociewright.com, which is more for the EMyth program. It can be applied to any business at all. But the actual EMyth coaching program is not for the startups and the solopreneurs. So what I wanted to do is take the principles that I've learned through my systems thinking and my degree and my coaching certification and my experience and meeting up with all of you guys. I wanted to try and take that information and apply it to the smaller business and the startup business. Now, I know there's loads of free help out there, the likes of Business Gateway and other places that are funding. And I totally recommend you take what help you can get. But they have a very specific mindset on a business and how businesses function. Whereas a business coach is more about you, the business owner, and how do you relate to the business, the employees, the customers. How do you relate to, or at least how does your business relate to your life, so it's a little bit different, and it helps you develop a different set of skills. So that's the start of my journey, that for this particular section of my business, shall we say, where I want to take the principles that I've managed to gather through doing all these things and help the smaller business owner. So the first one, what I want to talk about this morning, is your passion and your purpose. And I can relate this to me a little bit, because going through my younger adult life, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew from a very early age that I wanted to be involved in business, and I wanted to I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to work with entrepreneurs. But that was really all I knew. I didn't know what my passion was. I loved art, I loved design. But there was something about business that always fascinated me. I remember I stole a little magazine from there was a pile of them, so I took one and I left about 10 or more others, and it was about school leavers starting their own business. And I read this thing from cover to cover. I was absolutely fascinated by the idea of being an entrepreneur and working for an entrepreneur and getting into because the whole process seemed so creative and liberating. And I must have been about 14. And it kind of stayed with me. And later in life, I mean, as I left school, I didn't get the opportunity to go to university or anything, or even stay on and do much further education. I left school and I did a day release in IT. I got an HNC in IT, which back then was radically different. I mean, we didn't even have computers in the offices. Yes, I'm that old. My children can't fathom a world without computers. So it was very, very different. But I did day release. I worked for the council and I didn't like it. It was too staid and stuffy. And I thought, I'm going to work for private commerce. I went to work for ICI, which then became DuPont, and it was just as staid and stuffy. And I spent probably nearly 20 years not actually knowing what I wanted to do. I hadn't taken the time to sit back and find out what my passion was, or even what my purpose was. And it wasn't until I took my business degree with the OU and studied a discipline called systems thinking, systems thinking and practice, that kind of a light bulb went off in my head, and I decided this is what I want to do. But I didn't actually know how to package that up as an individual. I knew I didn't want to be a consultant. Anyway, the story is eventually I heard the term business coach, and it suddenly clicked in that's what I wanted to do. But it took me until my 40s, just after my 40th birthday, to figure out what my passion was. And then when I started looking back over my life, throughout my life, I always tried to show people how to do things themselves. So when I first started work for the council, I was about 17, 18, PCs first started appearing in the council offices. Sorry, excuse me. Of course, a lot of my colleagues who were much older than me, they were completely lost. They didn't understand simple things like how to set up your directories to do all the filing and all that kind of stuff. So at the age of 17, 18, I started up my own little training courses in the office, in business time. It wasn't sanctioned by anybody, but I thought, I've got to help these guys and try to explain to them how they can organize things, how they can do certain things. So I was always doing stuff like that. And then I remember I did that for a lot of the guys when I started working for ICI. I started off in a huge office. There was about 20 of us in this big, huge office. We were part of the project team for bringing the newest line on board. And there was a lot of trades guys there, or guys with trades background. And I started delivering coaching sessions on the things like Microsoft Office and that kind of stuff. And I say coaching sessions because I discovered that I wasn't just I didn't want to just teach them like step 1, you do this, step 2, you do that. I wanted to give them an understanding so that they could then go off and explore things themselves and figure out how to do other things themselves and give them the confidence. So it's always been there, it's always been in, but I didn't know that that was my passion. So roll on to, 3 or 4 years ago when I suddenly decided it's business coaching, or at least coaching in a business environment, is what I've been doing all my adult life, and I hadn't realized it, and that was my passion. So I wanted to talk a bit more about how others could maybe have a look at finding that passion. Now, some of you will already have some of this sorted out in your head. You've known what you wanted to do. You've known exactly what your purpose in life is, whether that's to head the front of a campaign, for better conditions for whatever, or greater awareness, or whether you want to help someone in your business, or through your business, or whether you want to create beautiful things, whatever the case. Some of you have already got that, but I know from talking to you that some of you are still looking for that purpose and that passion. We'll talk about values another time, I think, because I think values is something more personal, and you kind of know your values all the time. But the passion and purpose, if you find yourself in life floating along, feeling that there's no specific direction to what you're doing, and no way to judge what's your priority in moving your life or your career forward, then you've potentially not done any introspective work for looking at your passion and your purpose. So I've got some questions here, and I will type them out, a couple of them, in the bottom of these posts, because we are on Facebook Live and we are on Hangouts, because I've discovered people really are not getting on well with Hangouts, but you can chat to me on Hangouts. So I'm trying to do both just to catch everybody. So some of the questions are things like, and I'm going to read these to you because I've got it up on my screen here. Okay, what are your daydreams about? So this is for the people that don't have their passion. They haven't figured out what they want to do with their life. And by the way, it's never too late to start. Never too late to start. These days, say a career lasts 20 years, and the average person is going to have 3 or 4 careers. So if you are in your 60s, 70s, and you're still looking for something that sparks that fire in you, go for it. So yeah, these questions, what are your daydreams about? So if you're in your life, you're sitting there thinking, what am I doing here? I hate what I'm doing. I hate my job. I really don't know what I'm doing. Yada, yada. Where's your happy place? What do you daydream about? What do you think about doing or seeing or feeling when you're really fed up and you're bored and you're frustrated? Where's that happy place? It could be something like travel. It could be something like art, whatever, photography, anything. Where does your head go? I'm not saying that because your head goes to that lovely holiday in Seychelles, that you should become a travel guide or something. But there's something in that daydream that is telling you, I want to be doing this. It could be exploring. It could be having new experiences, meeting people. It could be the fun of organising an event, because you've got to organise everything for your holiday. But it's about how that makes you feel. When you are in that happy place in your head, how are you feeling? What are you doing? Oh, I'm getting messages. Hi. So what are your daydreams about? Here's another good one. When you were young, what did you want to do when you grew up? Now, quite often, by the time we have gone through school and education and we've started a career, the fun and creative aspects that was inherently in us as a child has almost been ironed out. Suppressed might be the better word, because we have to be sensible, we've got responsibilities. But that child, that creative person, is the person who we really, really were. Also might give you information about what your real passions and purpose is. So have a think about, what were you dreaming of when you were younger? Of all the things you've done in your life, what has given you the most satisfaction or pleasure? In other words, what were you doing when you actually felt, yeah, I did that, or I'm doing that, or that feeling where you feel absolutely invincible. You've got everything under control, and you know that you've nailed it. Whatever that is, it could be going in and solving a problem. It could be helping somebody overcome an issue. It could be designing something. Whatever it is, whatever you find yourself feeling absolutely on top of the world, and you nailed it. That is another sign as to what's your passion. Because you feel really good about it, and you feel confident about it. The other one is about feeling. Okay, we do, or we're encouraged to do things like vision boards, which is really good, because a lot of us are very visual. That tends to be our most prominent or dominant way of communicating, is visual. And the brain takes up cues from the visual. But there's a different element to finding the purpose and your passion, and that's feeling. So yes, we need something like a full vision, whether you describe that in writing or in pictures, etc., of what you want your life to look like, in great detail. The more detail, the better. What does your office or your kitchen look like? I mean, in one of my visions, the one that's really stuck with me, I'm stood in a particular outfit in a particular style of kitchen, and I've come in from work and I've just put my keys on the side, and the family's there, and I'm pouring a glass of wine, and I'm talking about an amazing day, and I can see everything in detail in my head. Other people I know love to have their vision boards and draw it out or paste up the pictures, and that's really, really good. But there is an element that might be missing, and that is the feeling. How do you feel when you are visioning that end goal in your life? And really, really think about it, because if you start going over your feelings in that scenario, and then start going over why you feel those things, it will start to feed into what your passion and your purpose is. So I'm going to go through a couple more of these questions. Okay, if you were at the end of your life and it's too late to do anything else in your life, I know that sounds a bit morbid, but bear with me. What would you want to be able to say about your life? I mean, that's quite a big question. So it's not so much about the material accomplishments, it's more about how have you lived your life. Again, getting back to the feeling side of things. And then you want to start thinking about what elements you want in your life. And sometimes that's easier to work out what you don't want in your life first. Again, that sounds maybe a little bit negative, but it's easier at times to figure out what you don't want in your life, because you're often confronted with that all the time. Because many of us haven't been purposeful in putting the things in place that we do want in life. We haven't actually thought about what we want in life, but we just know what we're experiencing right now is not for you. So it's sometimes easier to start with things that you don't want in life. And the one thing that I found really helpful for me, and unfortunately this took a long time, was being curious. If you don't know what your passion and purpose is, be really, really curious about the things that are out there in the world. We live in an age where we have the internet, so we can find all sorts of things. Excuse me, one moment. My phone went off there, apologies. We have things like the internet, so we can explore all sorts of things without actually having to do an awful lot of work. But things like books and travel and training or learning, meeting new people, finding out what they do. So although a lot of the values, a lot of the passion and purpose is very introspective and you're looking at yourself and what you want, sometimes if you're not very clear on that, you need to open yourself out to figure out what is out there, what is people doing, what's the new ideas, what experiences are there. And they're now leaving a message, thank you. So, and that's how I managed to find my passion and my purpose. It was actually through my university degree that eventually led me to EMyth. But that was through education. And I love to travel as well, because there's always something new to learn, new cultures and new people, because every time you meet a new people or a new culture, you get to hear how different they do things. They have different perspectives. So there's always something to learn. So be curious and explore, and then come back to some of these questions. Now, the reason that we need this is because, and I mentioned this earlier, is we need that end goal. So if you're thinking of changing your business or starting a business, you do need to have this end goal in mind. This particular exercise is not about business. This is very much about you. But if you want a business to serve you and to serve your way of life, you kind of need to know what that life is going to be like. Otherwise, it could be serving the wrong life. So this is like your end goal. And I'm gonna say to people, if you would like to continue this journey with me, I'm going to set up a private Facebook group. Get my teeth back in. Facebook group. Where I'm going to start putting some of the actual material out prior to launching an online course and my workshops, kind of a do-it-yourself business coach course, for those who want to join me. So I've got next month, I want to talk a little bit about vision. Excuse me, I've just got a list here. Next month, I want to talk about vision. And then some of the other things I want to talk about, I've got a list here, is branding, your brand commitment, which is that silent conversation that you have with customers. It's not the marketing, the branding. So the feel and the personality of the business. Your vision, key strategic indicators. Now that sounds really technical, but it's not. It's figuring out a way of getting feedback from the likes of your customers and your suppliers, employees, if you've got employees, so that you actually get a feel for the intangible in your business. Is it doing well? Are customers happy? I want to talk about time management and self-organization, because if you can't manage yourself effectively, how are you going to be able to manage your business efficiently? We want to talk about finances. I know that that's most of you, that you hate doing the admin and the bookkeeping. By the way, we have a workshop, a live workshop in person, one in the evening and one during the day, on how to make your accounting a bit easier. And I admit it, I am ditching the spreadsheet. I love my spreadsheets, absolutely love it, but I've come across this app called Wave Accounting, completely free, and it's one of the best free ones. In fact, it's the best free one that I've ever seen. So if you've already taken my spreadsheet bookkeeping course, you can come along for free. Or if you are a Being Business or a Chamber member, you can come along for free. Otherwise, it's a £5, just to cover my time. So yeah, topics that I want to talk about is things like finances, and this is a really good one, and that is transforming frustrations. And it's probably one of the most powerful modules that I have in your business. Problem or same type of problem again, no matter what type of solution you try to implement, it really takes you back a step and goes to the root of the problem. It's simple in concept, but really quite hard to apply, in that you have to think a little bit different. You have to take a step back. So yeah, that is transforming frustrations. Transforming frustrations into solutions. And there's a few others that we might go into in a little bit more detail, but that's the type of thing. So a little bit of a taster on these sessions. And if you would like to get a little bit more into the nitty gritty, direct message me or private message me. And I'll invite you along to the private Facebook group, because this has to be a very, very private, secure place so that you can actually talk about your business issues and stuff that you're maybe stuck on. The idea being that individuals can share some of their experiences and maybe bring different perspectives to your particular issue, because it's a lot easier to see someone else's problem than it is your own. So that's the idea is behind that. So that's one of the things I want to do, more of a mastermind group so that you can talk to each other, but all the while working on your business with some of the material that I've got. I'm waiting on, unfortunately I missed Lee's phone call yesterday, but Lee from Med from the Chamber and I are discussing dates for the workshops, where you will be able to get into even more depth of each of these subjects. So there's a lot happening, but if you'd like to hear more, just message me, because I want this to be something that you guys can actually take a little nugget of something away. Even on like the free level that we're doing here, I want to be able to find something that is useful for you guys. So that brings me to the very, very last ask, in that please tell me what issues you keep having. And it could be technical issues. I've had a few people saying the likes of Facebook, social media, that kind of stuff. So it could be technical issues. Accounting still seems to be a big thing for a lot of you. And I think a lot of that is born from the fact that you hate it. At least a lot of you hate bookkeeping. You know, you didn't start your business to do bookkeeping unless you are a bookkeeper. But yeah, things like branding, marketing, setting out a strategic plan for your social media, figuring out who your perfect customer is and trying to zoom in on them. So I really do have loads and loads of material, and I would love to share it as much as possible. So get in contact, and I'll hopefully see you next month. Okay, bye.